right.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Inrix.
All right.
Thank you.
We have to move fast. Well, we like to move fast.
Are you ready?
So no problem. Let's do it.
All right.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. All right. So we're going to talk about something today that's very near and dear to our hearts at Inrix, and it should be to yours as well, especially if any of you spend any time on Lake Washington Boulevard or State Street coming up here tonight. It's called the Internet of the Automobile, and what we're focused on doing here at Inrix is basically, we've all heard about the Internet of Things, right? It's the connection of these people with the devices and being able to deliver new apps and services to you that helps you make your life better. Well, we're doing a very similar situation as it relates to driving in the car. And what's really driving that, I'm going to touch on today, is there's about 10 different trends going on, and that is not scaling well, that is really driving what's going on with connectivity with the automobile. The first is urbanization. Now, about 5 of every 10 people live in a large city today. That's going to grow to about 7 of every 10 people. And we have about 6 megacities of about 10 million people today, and that's going to grow to about 26 megacities of 10 million people or more in the next 15 years or so. So our big cities are getting bigger, and most of that's being driven by employment growth, economic opportunity, and the fact that most young people today, they don't want to live in a suburb, they want to live in a city where the action is. Well, the other thing that's going on as a result of that is it's causing problems with traffic, right, as more and more people move to these cities, right? In Seattle, we waste about 40 hours a year in traffic. You go to Paris, it's 60. You go to LA, it's 60. You go to Brussels, it's 80. It's ridiculous. And all that time wasted in traffic comes at a cost, right? And we've recently done some analysis where we took a look at traffic congestion in America costs this country's economy $124 billion last year. For every one of you out there, it costs you each about $1,700 right out of your pocketbook, right? So that's money not spent elsewhere in the economy. That's money you don't get to spend on doing other things that you love to do. Now, the other problem with this is it causes lots of pollution. And then the other piece of this, too, is what we're finding as well as a result, as more and more people move to our cities, and these slides are moving really fast. I don't even have 20 slides. You should get more than 15 seconds a slide. Come on. Anyways, I digress. So basically what we're finding is while you may not own a car, you're going to be using a car. Think about Seattle, right? We just went from having a cab company and a limousine company to having Lyft, Car2Go, Zipcar, Uber, UberX, right? That's a lot of cars, guys. So even though we may not all be owning cars in the future, there's still going to be lots of cars out there. Now, the other piece of this is cars are starting to get connected along with these devices. Now, once these get connected to the network, we could start to mine data from the vehicles and use them as sensors to understand what's happening out there, not only to help you get around a little bit easier coming to a startup event like this, but to help our DOTs better manage our roads, right? So think about it this way, right? I like to think about solving traffic as a little bit like the problem of solving cholera back in the old days, right? Before we used to put all the waste and stuff in the streets, right? There were no sewers, there were no plumbing systems, they didn't exist. We had to create all that. Well, basically, when we think about our future road networks and transportation networks, we need to build infrastructure underneath that physical infrastructure through software and technology that makes it work better. And that's exactly what Inrix is doing. What you're seeing up there is basically that's our crowdsourced network of vehicles and devices every day that are providing us with real-time data that allows us to process it in real time, deliver new apps and services that help drivers, help municipalities, help commercial fleets, and reduce the economic individual cost of traffic. And that's really what we're about and what we do. And what you're seeing there is the network effects. As more and more of these devices adopt our services, our network grows, the data gets better, the quality of the service gets better, the more services we deliver to more people in more countries to help solve this issue. Now this one's taken a really long time. We'll go to the next one. I'll carry on. So we're crowdsourcing all this information, and this isn't just information about traffic anymore. That's the other thing about this, is the car is a sensor for lots of information. It could tell you about what the road conditions are like. It could tell you what the weather's like up ahead, right? That's great information that we could then take and correlate it through our partner at the Weather Channel, and now deliver insight to drivers that says, hey, slippery roads up ahead, watch out, be prepared to slow down. But we could also send that to DOTs, and when there's snow and ice on the road, they could send trucks out with pinpoint precision, clear that, avoid accidents, and avoid delays like we've been seeing on I-5 for the last 2 weeks. Now, again, this stuff does help our infrastructure. Like I said, we have to get this to municipalities and cities, right? We have to connect the car to the city if we're going to make the world work better and make mobility work better in the world around us. And that's really what Inrix is focused on. Now, we talk a lot about this in the context of transportation. What's been really interesting for Inrix is now we're starting to take this data and we're finding new opportunities to use it in other interesting ways, right? So we're helping retailers better understand where to put their stores. Because ironically enough, they actually like traffic, right? That's where they want to be if you're Starbucks, right? We're also helping companies to find better ways on how to deliver their services to their customers, right? We all heard this week that Starbucks is going to start delivering coffee to your desk. Well, not only does it have to show up, but it better be hot when it gets there, right? Well, we could help them make sure that happens. So when we think about this, there's a huge opportunity out there as we start to connect these devices and start to deliver new services. What's up there right now, that's a BMW vehicle, and there's the smartwatch from Samsung that's launching next week. These are two of our customers today where we're delivering these services down to these devices to help you find a better way to go and also to help our cities and our municipalities make people and commerce move better across our road networks. And I think with that, I'm up. Questions? Yes, we're actually doing that right now today. So what we've done is we've teamed up with some of the parking providers that do apps like Best Parking, Parkopedia, those folks here. Actually, I think Mark is here tonight who worked with those guys. And we're taking their data and we're delivering it in a synthesized service right directly to the automakers because they want to know parking everywhere, not just where one company has relationships to get lot data. And they also want that data delivered consistently. So think about your Starbucks latte tastes the same way every day. They want that same stream of information in the car. So now we're delivering that down to Audi vehicles, Lexus vehicles that will tell you in real time, hey, where's the closest, least expensive parking to my destination, and where's there available spaces that I can reserve? And we did that actually with them through an over-the-air software update. So really what's happening now is now that the car is connected, it's not too much difficult to update the software in your car as you do on your phone now all the time. Yeah, so we see Google as a potential customer. The thing about Google is they do a really nice job. I give them a lot of credit with their application. But the one thing that they don't understand too well is that a lot of times when you look at Google Maps and the traffic information you get there, one of the challenges with that is that they're not applying some very sophisticated analytics on top of that data. Now that sounds funny, me saying that about Google, but it's true. And what they're not truly understanding is like they'll miss road closures a lot. They'll miss things that happen due to weather on the roads because they don't have any incident data or information like that, and they're not running very sophisticated heuristics on the traffic data to really understand, okay, are a bunch of cars on Fifth Avenue downtown at a traffic light really in a traffic jam, or are they just at the traffic light? So for them, it's all about the means to get you to do search, to go to buy and do something. We just want to help you get where you need to go without any of that baggage. So that's how we're different from Google. Anybody else?
One more question up here, Jim.
Right there. That's a great question. I didn't get a chance to talk about that too much, but that's something that's important too. A lot of people look at Inrix and they go, oh, you guys are just about building more roads and people have more cars and all that stuff. And that's partly of what we're about, but it's not entirely what we're about. We want to get you to from point A to B the fastest way possible, however the best mode for you to get there is. And so BMW is a great example. They just shipped their first electric vehicles this year that they've ever built, the i3 and the i8. And what we help them with is the big challenge with EV owners is you're worried about range. Do I have enough charge to get somewhere? Am I going to be able to get there on time? I don't have time to stop and charge my car. What am I going to do? I got a meeting at 9 o'clock, right? So what we did for them is we built the first multimodal navigation system in a car. And basically what this does is as you are driving that BMW i3, maybe you forgot to charge your car overnight. You're not going to be able to get where you need to go, and you don't have time to stop off and charge. Or you're going to be late for a meeting because there's a big traffic jam that just happened because of a big accident on I-5 southbound from Everett, like we've seen in the last 2 weeks. Well, what that system does is it wakes up, and it will let you know that, hey, you know what? there's a train station about 1.5 miles away where I can get you on the next train down to your destination. This is the departure time. I'll navigate you there. And oh, by the way, there's a place to charge your EV while you do it. Or do you take a bus, right? So this is actually a car that potentially recommends you get out of your car and go another way to get where you need to go. And what BMW understands is in the future, if they're going to be relevant, they need to market and sell mobility to the consumer as much as they've always marketed metal, horsepower, styling, and design. And that's really where it's going, and that's where we're headed with them. Well, you know, we get that question a lot. It's a great question. But to be honest with you, first off, if we're going to help you, I have to know where you are, and I have to know where you're going, right? So you're going to have to tell us something if we're going to give you some help. Now, from our perspective at Inrix, right, so when this data comes off a mobile device or comes off the car, we're not getting the device ID, we're not getting the VIN number. I don't care if you like to eat lunch at Quiznos or not. We just don't care about that stuff. We just want to help you get there. So that data is fully anonymized. We assign a random hash to it that allows us to follow you through your trip to let you know if stuff happens. But at the end of that trip, that stuff gets tossed, the data goes into the historical archive, and we carry on.
Thank you, Jim. Ladies and gentlemen, Inrix.